And now, after we've had some really festive days, posted with all the little things that happen around Christmas and New Year's, we're joined once again by Mike Platinas. Good evening, Mike.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, DJs of later. Good evening, later. And good evening to all of you who will be watching us later on YouTube. I always like to say it this way because it's truly very important. We have these three significant groups as part of our audience. So, well...
And Happy New Year, as we have a new year.
The holiday celebrations have now concluded, and I'd say they went pretty well.
So the question I asked you on the last program was, will you in the end drink a little on New Year's Eve, some kava and such?
Yes, I certainly did. I did it exactly as it should be. And now the first thing we need to do, as you mentioned, is to wish you a very Happy New Year 2023. And as we promised you last time that Manel and I would continue right here at our post every single week on Leda Televisio and on YouTube, bringing you more and more interesting facts, fascinating data, and most importantly, to share some laughs and have a really good time for a while, and to slightly expand our musical knowledge and understanding. Everything that has to do with music, with audio, with technology, all these kinds of topics that Manel and I like so much. And
what they can share. And that many people are sharing with us as well.
And I was gonna say, and to you all too.
This is about the feedback. Mike, there's a little something that ever since the very first show, many people have been asking us for.
Yes.
Since that very first episode. And today is finally the day.
Today.
Or 1, 2, 4, 3.
Today we're going to talk about the Max Mix, the very first edition, the one that was launched.
Oh my goodness, what a great joy you bring us, Master.
about the Max Mix, the very first one, the edition that came out in March of the year 1985, and which truly represented a significant leap, a huge jump in the concept that the general public had of the DJ, because up until that historic moment, for the vast majority of the public, the great majority of people, well, they believed that the DJ was a madman. And that was true, that he was inside a booth, and that was true, that he would play one record after another, and that was true, that he earned a lot of money, which was not true, that he had all the women he desired.
Can I just interrupt you for a moment, Mike? What was the amount, how much did you actually get paid the very first time you ever worked as a DJ?
Well, you see, initially, I was working for a period of time without receiving any compensation whatsoever, because the agreement that I had made was established around 82. The deal was I wouldn't charge anything, but I'd have access to the record warehouse to record all the earlier music I could, the music from the 70s and 60s, because I wanted to know a lot about music. My primary concern was to gain extensive musical knowledge. For me, it was very important and still is today. But the first time I got paid was in April of 83, and at that historic moment, I was lucky enough to be paid very well, an unusually high price for that time. I was earning 5,000 pesetas per night per session.
Oh my goodness. I remember I was also getting paid the exact same amount, but I might have been starting a little bit later than that.
But that was very well paid, you know. If you were paid that, both your case and mine were truly well paid, because I know people earning 5 times less. We're talking about, but in any case, it's nothing like what DJs earn today at a certain level. Nor does it have anything to do, the world has changed a lot in some aspects for the much better, right? Well, focusing on the Max Mix topic, what gave rise to the first Max Mix, its predecessor? Absolutely essential. It was the pivotal DJ competition that was organized by Max Music at the very close of the year 1984, for which more than 600 aspiring contestants from all across the entirety of Spain presented themselves. And so, the competition where the very demo that I presented together with Javi Rocia, and which I had personally recorded myself, was ultimately declared the winning entry of the contest. This then led to the official recording of the Max Mix album, for which I suggested the subtitle, The First Spanish Megamix, a claim that was rigorously and absolutely true, at least regarding its initial release onto the market. I don't know if anyone before had made a megamix at home. I had certainly done it before. I used to play it at the disco at Campbell de Platja in the summer of '84.
But I wanted to ask about the singing itself.
Yes.
Make the specific concept they were requesting for this competition was, that's what I was going to tell you.
No, they were just asking for a mixtape, you know, with songs on it. That was it. And that was the end of the whole entire story.
Exactly. This is the crucial point, I believe, and is the reason why you have a certain name or reputation, and it's because you, as they say, created something new, which I suppose you'll talk about
truly
now.
new concept.
This is the great merit that many people attribute to you.
Well, the thing is, the idea was a contest for mixing songs without specifying anything else, was it? And they had left the songs in their catalog at that time, which were very few, just a few songs they had released. But of course, since I already knew the mega mixes that were released at Disco Mix Club at DMC in England, I knew the records, the Pirate Puzzles, which I was a collector of, that arrived from the United States, from Holland, from Italy. Clearly, I already had this idea in my head to go beyond just a simple mix of blending two songs, and that's all. My mind, you could say, was always moving further ahead, you know? And for me, it was a challenge. For me, it was everything that could possibly cross my mind and what the technology of that moment allowed me to do. That's very important to understand. So you see, that's when I was able to do everything I could with the songs. That is, to be creative with songs without any limits. Well, beyond the limits of musical metrics themselves, of the bars, you know what I mean? Regarding the mixes, it always seemed like something beautiful and aesthetically, musically, and rhythmically correct, right? And after winning the contest in March of '85, the first Max Mix was released, but I was recording it in February, and it was recorded in a very simple way, you know? With a Formula Sound mixer, I believe it was a PM80, if I recall correctly, two technical turntables, that is the M2 without queuing, and a Revox V77. That's all. So, two turntables, a mixer, and tape, but the kind of tape where you could mark the spot, cut, and splice it yourself.
You just called it very simple.
Yes, the equipment, the tools, they were very simple. But what was the great innovation, as you had mentioned earlier? They weren't simply pre-packaged songs played one after another. No. Everything was manipulated. Manipulated in the most creative sense of the word. Right? Yes. For example, then, I had a discussion, a really friendly discussion, all good vibes, with a very good DJ from that time, who was Tito Plains, and later we became great friends. He was spinning at a Barcelona nightclub and had just finished editing the record. I think it hadn't even been released yet. They brought the master for us to listen to it at the club. Yes, I think that's how it happened. And when he was listening to it, he said, yes, but I can do this teacher lift myself. And I told him, no, Tito, no, Totan, you cannot do it live. And he said, yes. And I said, no. He asked, well, why not? I replied, no, it's quite simple. Because if the song, specifically the break, that is the clean drum part for mixing the next song, only lasts a certain number of bars, I've made cuts and I've cheated. I've made it last much, much longer than it was originally supposed to. Exactly. And this lets me create a much longer, cleaner mix without the song re-entering. It was a loop, just a loop. I manipulated the breaks, the clean mixing sections of the songs, making them longer. He was doing things that weren't considered very normal at the time. He was scratching, doing things that weren't considered very normal to do.
And I imagine that since these things hadn't been seen, maybe people weren't very aware.
No. The good thing,
Right,
was
that's
that
probably the key.
Was that the general comment from people was, I don't know what's happening, but it all sounds very beautiful and very well mixed. Of course, if people didn't know what was going on, I don't know what's happening, but it's cool. Do you know what I mean?
And you say, it's good enough for me, it suits me well, it's perfectly fine, man.
But then there were other elements that were new. For example, another novelty was my initial idea to make a Mortadelo style cover, drawn in the style of Francisco Ibáñez himself. And they told me, but Ibáñez will charge a fortune. Again, that's unthinkable.
Was it considered to have a talk with Ibáñez?
Yes. I proposed the idea and he dismissed us right away. He said, no, forget it. That will cost a fortune. And I said, well, then the other option is a very good friend of ours and Javier Comet's duo, Shafi Aymar, who besides being an excellent DJ, an excellent person, an excellent designer, is also a very good illustrator. What's more, with my group of girlfriends, he would always tease me and always draw caricatures of me, ridiculing me, with short pants, with super skinny legs, with little hairs on my legs, with my lower lip very prominent, which I do have very prominent, but then much more prominent than normal. And he'd draw me with thick rimmed glasses, which I've always worn, but much more exaggerated. I mean, she'd do a caricature, exaggerating, making fun of me, but all in good fun because we were really close friends, you know? And always, I don't know, there, recording with tape all over the floor or something like that, overcompensating and saying, slowly, slowly, I'll get it.
Mike, just another quick point. Because so many things are coming to mind, are these drawings available anywhere?
He has them, and one day or another, he will
That would
surely
be
bring them
perfect.
out. Yes, he has quite a few of these kinds of things. Yes, because normally he would just be sitting in a little bar, sipping on some Coca-Colas, and then he would just pick up a piece of paper, any paper that was lying around, and he would start to draw. At the time, I don't say it. Yes, no, I didn't give much thought to these small things, but it was really fun. And they'd laugh a lot because he always drew caricatures making fun of me, but in a good way. And then what happened was, eventually they told him, "Hey, why don't you do the album cover?" And he did the cover for Max Mix 1, for Max Mix 2, for Max Mix Que Nunca, etc.
And perhaps that has been one of the key elements contributing to Max Mix's success. I believe so. As someone who likes comics,
And he is the inventor of the famous lyrics that are in Max Mix.
absolutely, yes.
He certainly is quite a remarkable character. Another one of the many unique particularities that he possessed was also the Max Mix as a historical novelty. It was the way of mixing. Up until that point, most of the DJs who were mixing, the few, and by few I mean 0.1% of the DJs in Spain, were mixing at that historical moment. Very few, extremely few. The problem in Girona at that historical time, I was the only one who mixed it well, the transitions, everything well, correctly, and so on. Most of the songs would come in rising, and when both were there, the other would fade out. No, I was the first one who started to a song played, and then suddenly two were playing, both sounding, and then suddenly the second one stayed. Meaning the song that comes in abruptly, and the one that leaves abruptly. Four souls, unmatched principles.
Yes.
Well, this later became quite a well-known brand. What specific year are we actually talking about, Mike? We're discussing the year 1985. I was already doing this in a session. I was doing it back in 83, this very thing.
I remember several DJs from that time. Yes, exactly what you're saying. We were building up, including the rhythm, but it was always quite progressive. We'd go up, then we'd come back down. And for me, that really took a lot of skill, you know?
Among them, Raúl Orellana did it like this. He was the most famous of that era because my style, I was looking for something much more impactful, you know? He didn't just want to mix into it, but he wanted, bam, to enter the mix. And then suddenly, bam, the other song plays. You know, it was more impactful. And this style, this mixed form of suddenly bringing things in and suddenly taking them out is what became part of the Spanish megamix style, which was then continued by other people like Tony Parejos, Maria Castells, Eki Tejada, Oriol Crespo, etc. Everyone started doing it that way from that moment on, every single one. I've begun with this particular mixing style, and they all kept doing it that way.
And I need to add something because we've sometimes discussed this, and you always say the word mega mix already existed, but I must say, or at least I'm of the opinion, that the mega mix as a concept of blending various songs you indeed created, and the term mega mix, they were already doing that at DMC.
What I created, what I developed, was what you could call the Spanish megamix style, so you understand. It was a version of the megamix that felt much fresher, more entertaining, more vibrant, and truly more like a fireworks display, especially when compared to Max Mix, where you could really notice that distinct difference. And it was like much more cheerful, much more impactful for the public, much more appealing, much more marketable. Do you understand?
I remember that the mega mixes people played were just mixed songs. Maybe they'd add a small intro, but little else. See? But the mega mix I know, or at least I remember, the authentic one, is Mike Platinas.
Yes, for many people. Yeah, I was the first reference they had, if that's true. And to finish, because I see we're already approaching 15 minutes, we're already out of time. Can we show a little something here or not? We can show the picture disc reissue on vinyl, which has a photo on the vinyl itself of Max Mix now, of Max Mix 1.
I can also show it to you.
So you can definitely show it to me too.
Yes, I can show you mine too. Yeah, you too. Dixie, look how cool this is. I can also show you this one, which is the vinyl edition. Also, of course, I don't have it, the vinyl version. And over here, there's also another edition, which is the CD edition. Do you have everything? I know that several CD editions have come out, but this one is the very first.
But it's impossible to beat you with records and with vinyls. It's impossible to beat you.
And now I haven't found the cassette because I know I have that cassette right here somewhere. Oh man, yes, Mike. No, that's really good.
One last detail and we'll finish up for today because we are running over time. The last detail is that I've always, for all my mega mixes, always check the mixes and the effects using headphones. This applies to both speakers and headphones, but especially to headphones, because with headphones you experience a much stronger sense of stereo, the feeling of depth, and above all, the volumes. The differences in volume are detected much better than the different elements. So it's important to keep in mind that whenever you're doing a mix or working on a musical production, whether you're putting together an introduction for your session or an intro for the radio show that you're presenting, anything you're creating for the internet, such as a podcast, it is always extremely important to check absolutely everything with headphones.
And when it's all set up, I have friends who always tell me to really hear my productions, I have to go to the car.
Yes, that's also true. In fact, it needs to be heard with headphones, with what you hear in the car, with a dirty radio, one of those with a disgusting little speaker. It has to sound correct everywhere, or good enough everywhere. And with these tips, and when it's all set, until tomorrow at 8. We'll see you next Friday, because we're already at 17 minutes.
If that sounds good to you, next Friday we'll finally be able to talk about Max Mix 2.
Come on, yes. Next Friday, Max 2 Mix.
What do you think? We've been talking about the Max Mix, not specifically Max Mix 1, but of course, over time it's become known as Max Mix 1, though it's truly just the original Max Mix. Yes, the very beginning of it all. Mike, as always, thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure. It's such a joy to talk with you.
And we will continue on from here.
Come on.
Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye for now, Mike.
Well,